All right, old school NBA fans, self-researched, NBA facts. Got another video for you. As always, thanks to anybody who watches my videos, subscribes to my channel. Really appreciate it. I just want to send a special thanks to, again, Isle Sabag for your super thanks. Man, I really appreciate it. Also got one from 814 Trump Army. I really appreciate it. And Quentin Daniels from Down Under in Australia sent me one. I think it shakes out to like a $15 one US. Man, all you guys, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I'm so glad you're getting something out of this content, that I'll sometimes hours I spend on doing the research, and, it's definitely not for the money. I mean, it's not. But the fact that, somebody's saying that they're getting that much out of it, it means everything. It really does. And, I thank each and every one of you guys. In this video here, this mind-blowing stuff, man, I wish I could shout this from the rooftops. I've never asked anybody to do this, but if you can share this with any NBA fans please do. And I'm going to give a shout out to Uncut Hoops, because this is based on our conversation we had that sparked this research. And it's just unbelievable. So what it's about is, in do or die games, it could be either a game 5 or a game 7, okay? It's do or die. Who had the worst help from your 5 teammates' minutes played? The reason why 5 is important, because sometimes you'll start a guy, but he doesn't really play much. Like I remember off the top of my head, 96 Seattle. They started Irvin Johnson at center, but the guy would play like 15 minutes a game. They'd immediately bring in Sam Perkins, and they'd go with Perkins, Kemp, and Schrempf. That would be their front court playing all the minutes. But anyway, it's just important that you have your top 5 players in there. So I went with my top 25. This is going to run long if I do every game or every series, but well, I guess it is just the one game, game 7. But I'm going to give it a shot. 25, Nikola Jokic. So in the first round against San Antonio in 2019, that was a game 7. His teammates shot 20 for 48 for 41.67%. Now that's going to be right in there in line with most of these series. Nikola Jokic in 2019, the very next round against Portland, his teammates shot 20 for 56 for 35.71. So basically, Jokic had 5 series, like 5 game 7s, because all he's ever played is 7-game series. So 2024, I know Scap Attack has done a video on this, and people have talked about how bad his supporting cast shot and all that. So in that game, his supporting cast, the top 5 teammates in minutes played, shot 38.88%. Now, no, that's not great at all, but that is nothing compared to the guy who's on the bottom of this. Okay, Giannis played 3 game 7s. He had one, it was 2018 first round against Boston. His teammates shot 27 for 50, which is 54%. That's excellent. And then his worst one, 2022 Eastern Conference semifinals against Boston. They lost that game. His teammates gave him 17 for 50 for 34%. Obviously, that's not very good. Elgin Baylor, he played, I think, 11 of these such games. And his worst one was actually his first one. In 1960, his teammates shot 20 for 63, 31.74%. And his best one was in 1961 West semifinals against Detroit. They shot 36 for 63 for 57.14%. That's excellent. All right. David Robinson, he only played in one, and that was in his rookie year in the semifinals against Portland. His teammates shot 32 for 64, 50%. So that's good, but they still lost. Robinson struggled in that game. What I remember, Kevin Duckworth and Buck Williams were really doubling Robinson. And his teammates did get clean looks, but he could never get anything going. He's another one of those situations that had to have felt kind of like, Jordan in the early to mid to late 80s, when you just don't have another guy who's ever going to get a double team or warrant any other kind of consideration to make sure you shut them down. It was always Jordan, and then it was David Robinson for a while, really. I mean, Sean Elliott was serviceable player, pretty good at times, but anyway, just the one game. Bob Pettit, his worst that he had was the 1963 West Finals against the Lakers. And he played 8 series, either Game 5s or Game 7s. And his worst was, like I said, the 63 West Finals against the Lakers. His teammates shot 20 for 52, 38.46%. So it's actually not bad. His best was 53.52% in the 64 West semifinals against the Lakers. So that's his best, that's his worst. Kevin Durant, he played in 5 all Game 7s. He had won 2014 first round against Memphis. His teammates shot 61.9%. And I believe that's the best on the whole top 25 for a do-or-die game. So he had tremendous help. Now, a game that's often talked about as, well, Durant's teammates just didn't come through for him. And I don't disagree. 2016 West Finals against Golden State. They shot 20 for 63 for 31.74%. That's not very good for your help in that game. But again, pales to the one on this whole list that was the lowest. So he actually had pretty good. I mean, you're talking 41.37, 48.21, 45.83, and then I mentioned the 61.9. Most of the time he was getting good help. Kevin Garnett, he played in several of them. The best one being probably would be the 2008 conference semifinals against Cleveland. His teammates shot 22 for 45 for 48.88%. And the worst one on this list was, probably not a surprise, the 2010 finals against the Lakers. Now, I've heard that game talked about a lot, about it was a defensive struggle. Players didn't shoot, really that good. And I don't disagree. But they shot Garnett's 5 best teammates in minutes played. I went by minutes played. 21 for 57 for 36.84%. No, that's not great, but that's nowhere near atrocious. I'll show you atrocious. Karl Malone, he played in I believe it was 12 of these games. 12. He had his very first one in 87, first round against Golden State. His teammates go 28 for 55 for 50.9%, which is, pretty good. Also, 96 first round against Portland, they go 17 for 34 for 50%. His worst was 95 first round. That would have been Game 5 against Houston. Malone's teammates go 13 for 39, 33.33%. And no, that's not very good. But again, it's not the worst. George Mikan, he only had 52 finals against the Knicks. His teammates did fine. 23 for 46, 50%. 53 West Finals, not so much, against Fort Wayne. 17 for 45 for only 37.77%. 54 finals, his team came through, no problem. In the finals against Syracuse, they go 24 for 47 for 51.06%. That's fine. That's great effort. Okay, Oscar Robertson. He played in 5 of them. He had a bunch of good ones. 63 semifinals against Syracuse. They go 37 for 68, 54.41%. 64 semifinals against Philly, 41 for 76, 53.94%. And the 74 finals against Boston. His teammates go 28 for 53, 52.83%. Great. Oscar struggled in that game. 74 finals Game 7 against Boston. It was Oscar that struggled. All right, Steph Curry. He's played in 5 Game 7s. His first one in first round against the Clippers, his team shot 51.16%. Pretty good. He had the 2016 finals that everybody talks about, oh man, it didn't shoot well, didn't play well. Well, it wasn't that bad. They were 22 for 52 for 42.3%. It wasn't lights out, but it also wasn't horrible. In 2018 West Finals against Houston, his teammates go 28 for 55, 50.9%. In the 2023 first round against Sacramento, that was his worst series. They go 19 for his teammates go 19 for 56, 33.92%. That's not really good. He scored 50 in that game, and they won the series. All right, number 14, Moses Malone. He played in 4 of them, not very many. He did have he had a good one and a bad one. His best was 81 semifinals against San Antonio, 32 for 63, 50.79%. His teammates, Dr. J and Maurice Cheeks and Andrew Toney, they did really good. But in 1988, first round against Detroit, Game 5, that's when he was on Washington. His teammates go 18 for 63, 28.57. Now, that is one of the lower end ones, but still not as bad as the bottom one. All right, Jerry West, he played in a bunch of them. His worst one was the 62 finals, Game 7, a game they had a chance to win. If Rudy LaRusso hits that baseline jumper, they would have won. His teammates go 22 for 73, 30.13%. That was the worst effort he got from his teammates, 1 through 5 in minutes played. Because I think after you get past your top 5 guys after your superstars, so basically your starting 5 and then your first guy off the bench, because sometimes he'll substitute maybe an older player, play more, whatever. But a lot of these guys, it gets into garbage time. Your number 7, 8, 9, 10 guys. So it's really hard to gauge how the game went because it's just garbage time. They could either be making easy baskets or, that's usually the case. Either making easy baskets or they're just, so deep in the bench, they're just not very good. So it doesn't really do a whole lot of good just to name the whole team. Just doesn't give a good idea of how the game went. So, hold up. All right, sorry about that. Anyway, Jerry West, his worst one was the 62 finals, 30.13. His teammates' best effort, believe it or not, was in the 1970 finals against the Knicks in Game 7. They shot 30 for 58, 51.72%, and lost. Wasn't good enough. I don't think West had a good game, if I'm remembering correctly. Dr. J, he played in 9 either Game 5s or Game 7s. His worst was 1977 conference semifinals. This is right away, his first series, after the merger against Boston, the reigning champs. His teammates go 11 for 35 for 31.42%. His best, which was, awesome, the 86 conference semifinals against Milwaukee, that Game 7, his teammates go 35 for 59, 59.32%. That's excellent. One of the best ones on the sheet. Okay. LeBron James, he's got a really bad one too, and a great one. 2006, this would have been the second series in LeBron's career. Conference semifinals against Detroit. A stifling defense. They won 64 games this year. They actually won more games in 06 than they did in 05 or 04 when they went to the finals. And, they just stifled Cleveland. And anyway, his teammates shot they shot 6 for 29. His top 5 in minutes played, 20.68%. Now that's bad, but that's also against, a legendary defense. One of the best ever is that mid-2000s Detroit. 06 would have been the last year because the anchor Ben Wallace was gone, and then it just kind of, they went from 64 to 52 games. You tell me if you thought he meant anything. And they even brought Chris Webber in instead of Wallace. So, they brought in a Hall of Famer, past his prime Hall of Famer, but they still lost 12 games. So it mattered. LeBron had some great help, again, with the whole help thing. all his game sevens. Well, he had one in particular in 2012 Eastern Conference Finals against Boston. They go 27 for 46, 58.69% from the floor. I'd say that's some pretty good help, wouldn't you? I mean, I think so. So that's his worst, that's his best. The rest of them are somewhere between 37 up to 45%. So in that range, which is, about average on the sheet, what you can see. All right, Shaquille O'Neal, he only ever had 5, which I thought that was low, but that's what it was. The 95 Eastern Conference Finals against Indiana, they shot 27 for 45 for 60%. Now, that's some pretty damn good help. His worst one was the 02 Conference Finals against Sacramento, 26 for 67, only 38.8%, a very controversial series that a lot of people, including myself, question whether the validity of that. All right, Tim Duncan, number 9, his best was the 2014 first round against Dallas. I can't believe Dallas pushed them to 7. Doesn't really get talked about, but they did. His teammates shot 31 for 52 for 59.61%. His worst was the 2013 finals against Miami. His teammates shot 20 for 60, 33.33%. So that just goes to show you right there. I mean, San Antonio just did not play well in that Game 7 at all. They didn't shoot the ball well at all. I think they were snake bit from what happened in Game 6 when Ray Allen hit that 3, and then there were some controversial calls in overtime, what have you. Anyway, Kareem Olajuwon. Olajuwon actually played in about 9 of these things. His worst help was the 1993 first round against the Clippers. Ironically, they won this series. 17 for 53. That's not very good for 32.07%. His best was the 95 conference semifinals, which part of the reason what propelled them to get to the finals and win it. His teammates shot 22 for 41, 53.65%. That's what you need if you're going to advance. You're going to make a championship run. You need a game like that. Wilt Chamberlain, he played in I think 11 or 12 of these games. His best was 1971 conference semifinals against the Bulls, who somehow pushed them to 7. His teammates shot 38 for 67 for 56.71%. Amazing. His worst would have been 1973, his last year, his next to last series. Semifinals also against the Bulls. His teammates went 26 for 82 for 31.7%. But all the rest are somewhere between 34 and 49%, right in that average middle area. Larry Bird, he played in, I think, 10 of them also. He did. His teammates, I'll just go through and say, his teammates were pretty much awesome. The only bad one they had was 81 conference finals against Philly. They shot 23 for 59 for 38.98%. The other 9 series, Bird's teammates shot 52.72, 51.02, 41.5, 47.69, 48.14, 58.69, 55.55, 52.63, and 46.03. He had all kinds of shooting help, Larry Bird did. He just did, especially these big games 5s and 7s, the do or die games. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, he only played 6. His worst was the 77 conference semifinals against Golden State, 19 for 54 for 35.18%. His last 3 series in 88, the conference semifinals, conference finals, and finals against Utah, Dallas, and Detroit. Here's what his team did. They shot 53.96%, 55.38%, and 58.33%. So, this is part of the reason why people like Skapatek say that Kareem may have gravy trained some championships, and I believe he did. At the end there, for sure. Number 4, Kobe Bryant. He had, believe it or not, his worst one was Phoenix first round 2006, the famous game where Kobe stopped shooting. Well, his teammates shot 19 for 56 for 33.92%. Just not good at all. And then in that finals, that 2010 finals, everybody talks about was a defensive battle. They weren't that bad, actually. In the 2010 finals against Boston, Game 7, Kobe's teammates shot 21 for 53 for 39.62%. That's not that bad. But his best help was definitely the 2009 conference semifinals against Houston, a series that went 7, never should have went 7. Kobe didn't really shoot very well in that game. It was Pau Gasol and a couple others who stepped up. They shot 25 for 45 for 55.55% in that game. That's one that, you could say kind of saved Kobe. They didn't have Tracy McGrady. They had no business going 7 in that series. But anyway, Magic Johnson only had the 84 finals against Boston, 88 conference semifinals against Utah, 88 finals against conference finals against Dallas, and 88 finals against Detroit. Just like Kareem in those, but the difference is this is Magic's teammates, not Kareem's. So Magic would be part of Kareem's teammates. Kareem would be part of Magic's teammates. So it's just a little different. But in those 4 series, 50.79, 54.68, 50, and 53.44. Magic always had great offensive help. And pretty good defensive for that matter. Now, Bill Russell, we all know about the 10-0 in Game 7s. And the 1-0 in Game 5s, 11-0 in do-or-die games, which is amazing. I won't go through them all, but his best was his teammates' best shooting Game 7 was 1963 East Finals against Cincinnati. They go 42 for 76, 55.26%. That's pretty good. His worst one, where his teammates shot the worst, was the 66 Finals against the Lakers, Game 7. They go 23 for 69, 33.33%, and somehow the Lakers still pulled it out. Russell had a pretty good game in there from what I remember, but it was close. Now, Michael Jordan, last but definitely not least. Okay, he had 5 total. He had 2 best of 5s and 3 best of 7s. In the 2 best of 5s against Cleveland in 88 and 89, in 88 they go 27 for 50 for 54%. That's great. In 89, they go 21 for 46 for 45.65. That's pretty good. No problem there. In 92, conference semifinals against the Knicks, where the Knicks pushed them to 7, 21 for 35 for 60%. So Jordan had those 3 games. He got really good help. 1998 Eastern Conference Finals against Indiana, a little below average, I would say. 16 for 42 for 38.09%. Now, here comes the granddaddy of them all. I just went through all top 25 players, okay? All top 25. They're Game 7s. There's got to be 150 Game 7s on here. Maybe more, maybe 170. The worst game when any of these superstars was facing elimination, their top 5 teammates in minutes played, the worst one was Michael Jordan, 1990 Eastern Conference Finals against Detroit. These guys shot 11 for 57 for a 19.29%. The worst on this whole list. And I'm starting to wonder, and I might have to look into this further, was this the worst help any star has got in any Game 7 in the history of the NBA? I need to look into it. But all these games, the worst one was 1990 Eastern Conference Finals against Detroit. Out of all these players, and believe me, I went through them all. The closest one was LeBron's in 06. His teammate was like 20, I think it was, right here. It's 20.68, where Jordan's was 19.29. So that's about a point and a half worse. They didn't have John Paxson in that game. He was out, hurt, whatever. And obviously Pippen, the migraine, whatever. But the rest of the team, all of them combined, 11 for 57. I don't want to ever hear a word about Michael Jordan not winning that game or that series when he had the worst help offensively ever in a Game 7 with any superstar's help. He had the worst help of any Game 7 ever. I mean, you have to dig deeper. Maybe There's some other player like Isaiah Thomas or Charles Barkley, or I didn't look into all those guys. But the 25 that I got, that most people, these 25 are definitely in your top 30. He had the worst help for a Game 7 in NBA history. Period. Point blank. That to me is just mind-blowing. So anybody like Nick Wright, Shannon Sharp, Kendrick Perkins, any of these idiots ever want to bring up 1990 again, you throw that right on them. You spit it back in their face. They don't know what they're talking about. Jordan never had a prayer in that game at all. He couldn't get by Detroit. Nobody's getting by anybody when your team is shooting 11 for 57. Nobody. I don't care who you're playing. I don't care what the stakes are. Nobody is beating a team when your teammates are shooting 11 for 57. That's it. I got fired up. Sorry. But this is just mind-blowing. And like I said, I wish I could get this out to every NBA fan and imprint it on their brains. This right here is powerful. I mean, it is. Like I said, the worst help ever in the history of a Game 7 for any superstar, that I find. I might have to dig deeper to look up every Game 7. This took a lot of time to compile this data. I mean, you're talking probably 12 to 15 hours I put into this one. And I didn't mind doing it. Like I said, I just kept looking. I was like, there's got to be one series worse than this. One series worse than this. And there wasn't. I couldn't believe it. Not on an elimination game. And that's what I'm talking about. An elimination game. Do or die. A Game 5 or Game 7 where it's for all the marbles. I'm not talking about just a regular playoff game. I'm talking about a do or die, winner take all game. That's what I'm talking about. And like I said, I went through about 170 either Game 5 or Game 7s, and that was the worst one. So anyway, sorry for my rant there at the end. I mean, it just like I said, it was mind blowing and got me going and everything. But anyway, thanks for watching. If you liked the video, I hope at least somebody didn't know that already, because I've never heard it mentioned, and it took me a long time to verify that, and that is the case. So anyway, as usual, thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. If you liked it, please hit the like button. If you haven't subscribed, please do. And until next time.